What's up, everybody? How are we doing? As we know, it is December 30th. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. But right now I live in Anaheim, California. But 15 years ago, I lived in Clitheroe, England. Beautiful place. I miss it dearly. I wish I still lived there in many ways. But still, 15 years ago, December 30th, I had my first ever fight at the MGM Grand right here in Las Vegas as an official UFC fighter. Now, if you look around at this place, it's crazy, man. Las Vegas really is the fight capital of the world. Now, the reason I got a contract with the UFC was obviously because I won the Ultimate Fighter. I won the Ultimate Fighter in June 2006, and then, of course, I was a bit of an idiot when I was a kid. On my first ever fight, I couldn't get a visa, so it took a long time, but eventually I got my visa, and my first ever fight was here, UFC 66 at the MGM Grand, Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 2. Now, the team that I was with at the time, they said, Mike, you fly out to Vegas, we'll be there in like 2 days, okay? We'll follow you right out. You get out there, you're the one that's fighting, you acclimate, get over the jet lag, and we'll see you there. So, I didn't stay at the MGM Grand. I stayed at the Palace Station Hotel, which is owned by Lorenzo Fertitta. Now, very, very nice hotel. How you doing, buddy? But it's a far cry from the Vegas Strip. It's a very nice, comfortable hotel, but it's more for the locals. Okay, so I was put up there very kindly by Lorenzo and Dana White and the UFC, and my team never came. Okay, and every day I'd be on the phone. I'm like, are you gonna come? Are you coming here? And they're like, oh yeah, tomorrow we'll be there. Next day, no one would come. Then I'd call. This went on day after day after day after day. In the end, it became apparently clear that my team was not coming. I went out to Vegas completely by myself. But you know what, to be honest, my mindset was always, well, I'm going to fight in a cage by myself. They can't get in there and fight my opponent for me. So I didn't really care. So I came out, I stayed at the Palace Station Hotel, and on Christmas Day, I had the most depressing Christmas dinner of my life. But I didn't care, because I was there to start my UFC career in Las Vegas, the fight capital of the world, and try and turn my family's fortune around. As I said, I sat there, I had the buffet, cost like $20. The food was grim, it was terrible. My wife Rebecca, she got me this brown leather belt for Christmas. I remember waking up Christmas Day by myself in a little hotel room. She wrapped it up, bless her. Opened it up, little brown belt. It's like £30, but I've still got it to this day. Obviously, a lot of sentimental value. And yeah, I did my running by myself. I would run up and down the hotel steps every day, up and down, up and down, up and down, doing sprints. I found these jiu-jitsu guys that I did a bit of training with. And then from there, when it came fight week, I moved to the MGM Grand. And I was like, holy shit, this is a little bit different. For a kid from Clitheroe to now being on the Las Vegas Strip, as you can see, well, this isn't the best example here, but as you can see, it is a crazy place. I'm now in Las Vegas. We've got Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell 2 at the top of the bill. Huge fight. And it came to the press conference. And I'd never done a press conference in my life. And I remember back in the day, you know, like now they have everybody sat up at once and people just ask questions. And if they ask you a question, then you grab a microphone and you talk. But back in the day, it was very different. You had to walk up to the stand by yourself and address the media. And Dana White goes up and he introduces, and next we have Michael Bisping. I remember I walked up, I'm like, yo, Dana, what do I say? He goes, I don't fucking know, say whatever you want. No one had prepped me on this. So anyway, said a few words, exuded confidence, said I was going to win the fight, of course, and that was that. I came to fight night. I went to the arena, the Garden, by myself. I'm in the locker room by myself. One of the only people that came to my room was the cut man who wrapped my hands and all the rest of it. Then these jiu-jitsu guys showed up, so they were in my corner, but they weren't my team, they weren't my friends, they weren't my cornermen, if you will. These jiu-jitsu guys showed up. Only one person came. Of course, the trusted Mrs. Rebecca Bisping. She was there. She'd flown out by herself a couple of days before the fight. I took her out, we bought some new clothes. The best we could afford, nothing very nice. And then we went over to that place, the MGM Grand, the spot of many legendary fights. And here I am, a little kid from Clitheroe. I'm by myself. I got no team, but I got my fucking ride or die partner. And I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. Now, when I was here, I did some training with Mark Lehman, who's a very well-respected jiu-jitsu guy. And when I was training with him, he showed me this defense to an arm triangle submission, which is called, you do this, it's called answering the phone. So you just put your hand there as if you're answering the phone. A little more to it than that, but that's basically what it is. And I'm glad he showed that to me, because when the fight started, I was very confident. He took me down, he took me back, I got back to my feet, he took my back, I slammed him into the ground head first. I was standing, he took my back, I did like a pile drived him head first into the canvas. He got me a head and arm choke. I answered the phone, which of course I just learned, so thank God for that. And then I got the TKO. I got the TKO, ground and pound, first round, boom, boom, boom. I give him a good filling. And then after that, I'm backstage, I'm really happy, I'm just changing. Rebecca's in the stands by herself, up high in the nosebleeds, right? And I'm just about to leave to go and see her. And Donna, one of the main ladies that works behind the scenes with the UFC, comes up to me and says, hey, Mike, Dana and Lorenzo want to see you. I'm like, Dana and Lorenzo want to see me? I'm like, oh shit, what have I done now? I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always using bad language at a time when I shouldn't be. I'm like, oh God, I'm in trouble. So I go and see Dana and Lorenzo. I walk into a room and they just say, hey Mike, that was amazing. That was awesome. And they hand me an envelope. And I take it and I feel like it's a check, but I don't want to be rude. So I don't open it. And Dana goes, open it. So I open it and it was a check for $80,000. Prior to trying to become a professional fighter, I was on £3.25 an hour, and I went on this crazy ride, this gamble of being a professional fighter in mixed martial arts, which didn't really exist back then as a profession. And everyone said, if you're getting into this for money, you're out of your mind. And I was like, that's the only reason I'm doing this. But Rebecca, my wife, always believed in me, and of course, now here I am. I went from earning £3.25 an hour to being in Las Vegas, just knocked somebody out on pay-per-view at the MGM Grand, and I've got about, with sponsors and my fight purse, about $120,000 in my back pocket, you know? So it was an amazing moment. But still, Rebecca didn't know. She was up high in the stands. So I run out, I've got these checks in my pocket, and I'm so fucking excited because I want to share it with her. Because I made sacrifices training for a fight. I made sacrifices going through the hardship, going through the fight, going through the sacrifices. But she was the one that was at home with the children. She was at home with the kids, dealing with the real day-to-day sacrifices. Do you know what I mean? Like, not being able to pay bills. When I'm off chasing my dreams, but she was at home dealing with the day-to-day. So I was so excited to share it with her. And I'll never forget this. And just saying this, it gives me, tingles on my spine, hairs on the back of my neck type stuff. I remember sprinting up the stands. She was all the way up at the top in the nosebleeds, and I sprinted up to her and I pulled out the checks. I said, "Babe, look at these, look." And she opened them up and we couldn't believe it. I know to a lot of people, maybe $120,000 isn't a lot of money. But when you go from being on minimum wage to being flat broke, to not being able to pay the bills, to then being even more broke to chase this dream of being a cage fighter, to now standing there in Las Vegas, having just knocked somebody out at the MGM Grand and having $120,000 in your back fucking pocket, let me tell you, that feels good. So anyway, there you go, December 30th, 15 years to the day that this story happened. Just seeing the MGM brings back a lot of memories for me. And hey, we're on the verge of 2022. Happy New Year to everybody tomorrow, and I hope it brings you all the fortune that you hope. Because hey, listen, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Happy New Year, ring the bell, subscribe, and all the best.